That's the one. That should be picking me up. Hello, everybody. I would like to thank you for complimenting my intro. It's very old. We used to use that, you know, a few computers ago, and I thought I lost it, but I found it, and I needed an intro, so I slapped it on there. It has made me also feel fancy, but I regret to tell you that I have not set up that music to loop through the entire stream. I could do that for next time. I was looking at the YouTube royalty-free classical library being like, is there enough material here for me to make a playlist that I can just run for like 3 hours while I make a pie? And the quick answer was not before the stream starts, so not today, but someday. Don't mind my hair, we're doing our best. Today, I am in my kitchen. If you've never been here before, welcome. I have removed some appliances, just, I don't know, because I want to pretend I don't have them. So I have some counter space to work with. And today we are going to be making an apple pie. I was originally going to brand this as an Elwyn apple pie, and I suppose we still could. I have printed and already gotten the paper wet my recipe because I'm sort of, it's hard to, what am I doing? How have I done this? What's happened here? I am making an apple pie. And in order to do that, I'm trying to take the elements from my most successful pie adventures that have happened previously to now, and then combine them all to make a pie that is not necessarily going to be like an award-winning apple pie, but a beginner-friendly apple pie. I'm not doing anything too complicated. I am not reducing apple cider and then drizzling caramel on anything. I am essentially going to be mixing apples with some filling stuff and slapping that inside of a pie crust, which will be made using both vegetable shortening and butter, because I find that that really solves my pastry issues where I just couldn't get pie crust to come together until I started using shortening, and now I'm happy and can create pie. How you guys doing? No one seems. Floyd's super on time today. Neil at Large, thank you very much for the 5-month baking stream. We're here. I must warn you guys, I can't hear anything, so the alerts should show up on the screen. I am almost certainly going to miss things if anything happens as far as like subs or bits. So I apologize in advance. I will do my best to catch up as soon as I see them. I just don't have a sound for it. I should really fix that. I did, however, adjust the camera, so I should be able to stay mostly in focus without quite as much popping in and out as last time. If you can hear my kettle, it's because I'm making tea because we're gonna need some. So I can post this recipe later if anybody wants it. I guess it'll depend on if it turns out well, because I typed this up this morning. It's a real mess. Like, the crust is in grams and I've weighed that out, and then I've kind of moved on to tablespoons and just apple count. I have not specified amounts of apples. I've lost the sheet with my instructions, but I know how to put it together. It'll be fine. And I'm going to, I believe, start by making my pastry. I have some water chilling in the freezer, and then I put my flour in the fridge. I was going to put my flour in the freezer, and then I didn't have enough room, so it's in the fridge. Shortening's in the fridge, butter's in the fridge, so all of this should be cold. I'm going to try and put it together as quickly as possible to avoid melting my butter, but as long as it becomes pie crust, I'm not going to be too fussy about how perfect it is. I just want it to not, like, you know, be not pie crust. Fridge stickers. And we have the sub icon, Hazel Love, my old channel icon. There's the wave, and then I've got my 2 BlizzCon magnets. I like those a lot. Let's see, got home from work, glad I haven't missed much. We're just getting started. Call it a deconstructed apple pie, forgives all weirdness. I'm gonna try and construct it. My dream, my goal, I have a 9-inch dish. It's not a very deep dish. I've seen like really deep 9-inch pie dishes before online. I don't need that much of the fridge. There we go. That's my scale. I've seen 9-inch deep ones. That's not what I have. I have basically like a tart pan. I don't know. It's not very deep, but that's fine. We're just gonna stack it up, and then I really want, and I am going to make a latticed top, and I'm gonna lattice it better this time. I'm not gonna say perfectly, but I can say better. So I preheated some water. I'm just making some Earl Grey tea because I felt like that went with the fancy vibe, and because I will need more caffeine in order to survive this. I tend to really wear myself out in baking streams. I don't know if it's just because I'm standing and talking. Maybe that's just too much for me. This is why I don't shop with anybody. I run out of breath. Okay, there we go. If only pie was as easy as tea. I'm going to steep that for like 4 minutes because I want it to be fairly stiff. So we'll time that. And I should get started on my pastry. So I was gifted via my post office box a neat thing that I really want to try. I've never used something like this before. It is not a giant whoopee cushion. It is basically a silicone non-stick bag, I guess, that you put your pastry in so that you can roll it out to various lengths without much regard for it to sticking to the rolling pin because you're on the other side of some silicone. I didn't even think something like this existed, but I will certainly give it a go. Love the apron. Why, thank you. 9-inch pies. Want Evitel and Hazel to do a co-baking stream. That would be so fun and require a very long plane ride to make happen. That's a lot of overhead for a baking stream. All right, pastry. So I have my flour. I'm going to add my salt to it. That's probably a good start. I forgot to do that before I put it in the freezer. So my salt's going to be room temperature. Oh no. Also, do I have salt? I do. Of course I have salt. Who are we kidding? I'm the salt queen. Fine Mediterranean, sure. Why am I reading my salt? Stop that. My kettle keeps my water warm, which is great if you're brewing continuous cups of tea or if you're doing kind of like a gong fu tea session deal, but if you just forgot that it's keeping your water warm and there's like no water left in it, it's not ideal. So I also have this angle so that you can watch the riveting display of me adding some salt into this flour. It says I'm going to need a teaspoon of salt. I think I rounded that up from the original recipe. I've sort of adapted this very rapidly from the King Arthur flour crust recipe from their apple pie thing. I don't know why I didn't just take their word for it. They probably know more about this than me, but I don't know. I couldn't find the one that I used last time that worked really well, so I just kind of looked online for something that looked close. This is not how you're supposed to do this at all. Rule number 1, never measure something over top of the thing you're going to dump it into, because if I like dump a bunch of salt in here, there will be no getting it out of the flour. Rule number 2 is follow your own rules, only if you really feel like it. You know what? It's your kitchen. Do whatever you want. Ruin your pie. Live your life. Yeah, that's close enough. That's some salt. And then I'm just going to stir that up. I'm going to grate in my butter. And I need 113 grams of it. I didn't think ahead. I don't know a great way to measure that. I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this dish and I'm going to slap it on my scale and make sure to zero it out. And then I guess I'm just going to like slice thumbs of butter. Oh, you know what? This is like 4 tablespoons. So how much is that? Wow, I need a lot of butter. Okay, that's only 50 grams. So I need basically a whole stick of butter plus a little bit. So I'm gonna, I guess, I'm not really accounting for the paper, but this is fine. Ah! Stop that. A whole stick of butter. Oh, that's 113 grams. Why didn't I just write down a stick of butter? What am I doing? Oh, I should have frozen it. Oh well. I guess I can put that back. I'm going to grab a cheese grater. As always, don't try any of this at home, or at least do so at your own risk. I don't know if my methods are the safest, but they work. And this just kind of bypasses having to work it in with your fingers until it's crumbly, because I don't want to get my hands cold, and I don't want to melt on my butter, and I don't have a food processor anymore because I broke mine and I didn't like it enough to replace it. So I'm just going to grate this in, and that gets it into some nice manageable pieces. And sort of mix it as I go so I don't end up with a big butter lump. Oh no, my tea's steeped. I always get really self-conscious when I watch my baking streams back. Not that I like sit and watch the entire thing, that would be strange, but when I see bits of them back, I get really self-conscious of my posture, and it's hard for me to tell how much of it is because I'm like leaning over my counter, which is like below hip height for me, and how much of it is just because I don't stand up straight normally. So I'm like extra conscious of it right now, trying to be like really tall. My tea can be a little stronger, that's fine. Mix that in. I'm using the paper to grip the butter so that the slippery butter surface will not come into play until the very end when my fingers are closest to the grating surface. Brilliant. I think this is fine. I'm not going to do the whole last thing. I can squish the last bit in normally. I'm not going to play too much with fire here. That's enough. Let's not have any catastrophes today. And then I want most of my butter from here. Wow, I'm giving you guys the worst angle. I'm like as far as I can possibly be from that camera. All right, I now need to add 60 grams of vegetable shortening. So I'm going to start just spooning that into that dish and see how we do. My hands, oh, tea, that's right. Let's pop that out. And I've been keeping this in my fridge. I don't think I need to. I definitely bought it off a shelf, but you know, if it needs to be cold anyways, or if it could be cold anyways, I don't see why not. My fridge isn't, oh wow. How much? 60 grams, supposedly. I go through phases of like weighing things and then not weighing things. A little less. Perfect. And I'm back on a weighing things phase because I just don't want to have not having weighed it as an excuse for why my pie died. If my pie is gonna die, I want it to... What was that? Oh, it's a magnet. How did I do that? Oh dear. Okay, so I'm going to try to just work this in to get that crumbly, kind of shaggy, loosely incorporated texture as best as I can and quickly because we're not trying to heat this up. It is very cold, which is a good sign. And then I'm going to retrieve my water from the fridge, just start mixing it in. Do you think I should use a spoon? Or just my hands? I'm going to use a spoon. I'm going to use a wooden spoon to keep my hand heat out of here, although that's gone now and it won't come back. My hands don't actually generate any heat. I have to preheat them in the morning, and then they just slowly chill throughout the course of a day, depending on where they are. If you need to reheat them, that's the real reason I drink tea. It's not so much about the beverage, it's about the mobile heat source for me to replenish my lizard hands. Okay, that's pretty good, I think. Hazel stands like a Zandalari troll. Baking only, yeah, I'm not going to be playing any video games. Or at least not on stream. I did get, well, I will be discussing them because I don't have anything else to talk about. Or at least I don't have that many other things to talk about. My hands are so greasy. I got well and properly into my Pokemon Sword playthrough last night. I put about an hour and a half into it, and I'm doing that thing I do at the beginning of Pokemon playthroughs where I try to catch everything in a zone before I leave it because I haven't realized that takes too long yet. I always reach a point where I give up, but I have to try first. So this is my chili water. This is my wooden spoon, and I'm just going to try and add this until it comes together. And then I will be kind of folding. I think I want to fold on top of this weird silicone thing. I don't think I'm going to put it in yet because I'm not really rolling it out, but this will just help make cleanup a little easier. I don't know, we'll see. So let's add, this is the maximum amount, so I'm not going to add all of it for now. I'm going to add just a chunk of it. However, I do find I always end up needing pretty much the top end of water to make my dough come together. I know it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm looking for like a loose, shaggy mass, I think. But, you know, as long as it still looks like a bowl of flour, then it usually needs more for me. And I would rather add too much water than overwork it. The last pie crust that I made on a baking stream, I was really stubborn about adding the extra water. I didn't want to. So I just worked it and worked it and worked it until it came together, and I made it so tough. Like, you could eat it, but you weren't, like, happy about eating it. This is looking better. This is starting to come together. I think that's together enough. Yeah. So let's just dump all this in here and see if I can gather that into a dough. I have a little bit more water if I need it, but see if I can just turn this into a dough and feel out the sticky parts. And then sort of, I guess I'm supposed to be folding. I'm kind of kneading. They're not exactly the same thing, but, you know, almost. Smells good, although butter usually does. Anything that is essentially a large pile of butter. So this is still really flaky, but it does have a form. So I am going to cut this in half, or twist it in half, I guess, roughly. And then chill both sides, probably inside of this thing. If I can just zip this shut, that'll save me some time. Oh no, maybe I should wrap it up in plastic. Although I'm having a fight right now with my plastic wrap. I'll tell you about it. This is about roughly half and half. One of them can be a little bit smaller, and that one can be used for the latticing at the top, and that'll be fine. Okay, those are 2 pieces of dough. This thing, I don't know how it was supposed to be, but I've gotten it to a point where either it cannot be threaded through the top, and you can cut it, or you can thread it through the top, but you can't cut it. And I don't know how I did that, but it's fine. So I'm going to wrap my discs of dough and put those in the fridge to chill, ideally for at least 30 minutes, and it will probably, and see, now I have to like reach inside of the sharp box. This is very wrong. I've done something horribly wrong here, but I've been living with it for like a week now, so I think this is just my life. I think it's going to take us at least half an hour to get together the filling, because I have a bunch of apples that I need to mutilate, so I'm not too worried about the chilling time of the dough. It should be nice and cold. Yeah! Alright, I'm gonna pour myself a cup of tea and clean my hands, clean this up a little bit, and then catch up on chat for a second. And don't eat anything including raw flour because it can potentially be harmful for your health, so you're seeing nothing. I want to know if it's too salty or not. That's the right amount of saltiness. I think it's good that I didn't get the rest of it in. It would have been too salty if I'd used a whole teaspoon. I'll have to adjust that down. Okay. I just ate for lunch. Glad baking stream is a dinner stream for me. Take your ring off? Oh, yeah, good point. I'm actually going to go put this in the box by my bed because every time I take it off in the kitchen, I, like, lose it for ages. So you can come with me because I have a wireless microphone, so you can't see anything, but I'm going to put it right where it goes. And then if I freak out and I've lost it, it'll be in the first place I look. Okay, although, to be fair, there's not a whole lot of rolling left, especially because I'm going to be rolling through that silicone thing. But oh well. Tea. We had 5 minutes ago Gemini Swede with the 4-month sub. Thank you very much. And Metalhead with the 3-month sub. Appreciate it, guys. Let's try turning the roll around. I need tea before I can figure this out. So, geez, okay. I have fetched my finest fancy china teacup, so let's not break it, shall we? I'm going to pour my Earl Grey. It's about the right color. This is not an expensive Earl Grey, this is a fairly cheap one just from Stash, but it is loose leaf and it does smell pretty good. That'll do. I like to sweeten it a little bit, so I'm going to add, I use partial packets. I never use like a whole packet of sweetener or anything, so I end up with like a bunch of like half-filled packets everywhere. And I take my tea with skim milk, at least a black tea anyways. If it's a green or a pour or any other kind of tea, I won't add anything, but black teas take skim milk for me. I'm going to stir it with I actually wish I had a smaller spoon handy. That's a big spoon. That spoon's so big in that cup, I'm like a giant. I mean, I'm kind of a giant. Oh man, this is my chewy water. Are we topping this with a delicious layer of toasted brown sugar? No, that sounds scary. I am an itty bitty baby beginner. I'm just trying to do the easiest thing I can. Last time I was baking, I sliced my finger on the cardboard part of the wrap box. Worst paper cut I've ever had. Oh no. Stretch tight, getting some good screen time. Yeah, you gotta love that Costco brand plastic wrap. That'll be the final sponsor. Stormy Steph, thanks for the 4 months. Hi Hazel and chat. This baking stream is a nice change to losing 15 AVs in a row. Oh no. Love the alliance, but we're not very good at this PvP thing. Oh dear. Sanitizing my entire kitchen because there's a case of strep in the house. Oh no. Oh dear. Tea fixes everything. I swear if it's in a really cute teacup, it tastes better. I promise. Totally a thing. Okay. All right. Come here. I have a roll. Currently, the plastic border is in the middle, and then it rolls around this way. So the roll is back towards the back, and the edge is towards the front. The blade is on this side, and then the feeder thing is here. So I need a world where it can reach the blade and also feed through the top. Does this tuck in? Is that... Oh, I'm dumb. It tucks in. Okay, never mind. I figured it out. It's not that hard. I'm a little cognitively drained today. I was really frustrated before I started this stream because I was practicing and working through some tutorials for an art thing that is way over my head. And I'm increasingly needing to face the reality that I have not learned a lot of fundamentals in terms of drawing or animation. And trying to learn those things from scratch is really frustrating because watching an expert tutorial makes it look really easy, and then I try it and it's not easy, and I get frustrated because I feel like I should be able to do it and I can't. And it's something that I think most people that are learning anything will work through, but it definitely does take some time, so I'll try again later when I'm not as mad. And I put this side inside. I just had this on over top of the blade and therefore covering it, which was a mistake. All right, fine. You can live another day. Oh man, just finished making chocolate chip cookies. Very nice. Fancy purple cup sub for life. Eternal toilet paper roll war. I don't know if that's much of a war. I feel like there's one side that is definitively winning that one. PTSD from that rap box. I hope you get the new T Pokemon. It's adorable. So I didn't really look at any media. I need to start cleaning this up. Leading up to Sword and Shield. So that means that I don't actually know what most of the new gen Pokemon look like. I don't even remember what the starters even evolve into. Like, all of this is kind of new to me, which is fun. So I can just kind of go through zone by zone, catching everything that I can. And then sometimes I'll see a new Pokemon, and I'm trying not to, like, define my team yet. I don't really know what I want to keep, so I'm just picking things up as I go, and I'll swap them out as I need to. So all of these new Pokemon are just like, I'll see something, and I'll be like, what is that? And then I want it, and then I change my mind because I want other things. So far, I'm like Route 2, so I'm very early in this game, but I'm running around with a Purloin and a Yamper because I needed a dog and I needed a cat. And then my Sobble is not really a fish, he's more of a frog, but there's no, he's a pure water type, and I don't want a double pure water type, and all the fish Pokemon are fairly predictably water types, so I'm probably not getting a fish, but I can have a cat, I can have a dog. This here. The original AV, the Horde starts like halfway up the playfield. What's the most fun cloth class in your opinion? Shadow Priest. 100% Shadow Priest, followed by Warlock is more fun, but Mage is kind of more useful. They have better utility. But Shadow is my forever love. It's just the most fun. Plus, because it's the only DPS spec of the class, you're really committed if you don't want to heal. Like, you know, I don't have to have that experience of waking up, finding out my class is being nerfed, and going, oh, I should learn Frost, or oh, I should learn Demonology. I just wake up and I find that my class has been nerfed, and I go, oh. Like, that's the end of the conversation. I don't have to do anything about it. So, some people might think that's a downside. I kind of enjoy it. It takes some of the stress out of learning and maintaining various specs anyways. Alright, so I'm going to need all kinds of stuff. That just measures salt, so that's fine. I'm going to need to wash this one. I don't know if I'm going to need that. Let's clean this. And yeah, I'll clean this. I don't know. Why not? Move that over. And then we're going to start sort of putting together our filling. So for the filling, I'm going to be mixing together sugar, a little bit of flour, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, a 1/4 teaspoon of blank. I forgot to type something, and hopefully not too important. Salt, lemon juice, and then we're going to add butter later. But basically just mixing all that together and then mixing it with the apples. And I have a fun way to slice and peel apples for apple pie that I will show you. So look forward to that. Cliffhanger. After we're done with like all of these dishes. That's the thing that I never get about the British Bake Off, is that you see them baking and you see them making messes. I assume somebody else cleans up because I've never once seen one of them cleaning their own dishes. Like, do they? Do they have dish helpers? I don't know. Isn't the little frying pan so cute? Yo, that's my, I use that literally every day because it fries one egg perfectly in this perfect little round shape. And it's so small that it's like really quick to clean and really quick to just get out and then fry myself my one singular egg and then put that on top of my singular slice of toast and then have like a cute little Barbie breakfast. I just love how the eggs become very round and you don't get any part of the white that's like too thin that gets crispy and burned before the rest of the white cooks. Because when your egg surface area is constrained in such a way, you get a much more even thickness of egg. I have never considered this before this exact moment. I just kind of thought it was a cute pan. But it makes sense when I say it out loud, so sure. Quarter teaspoon of I hope that's not important. Yeah, I have no idea. It's for the filling. So I think I know where I can check to see if it was anything good. Trying to find a good puer. Any suggestions? If you don't mind waiting for it to ship, what I would do is I would go onto yunnansourcing.com, Y-U-N-N-A-N, as in the province of China, and then go to their puer section and look for the most popular, and then find something that's not crazy expensive. They have really good puers in most price ranges. They have high-end ones, but they also have like basic ones. And I've never bought a puer from them that wasn't delicious. They're always good. I got like a V97 Mung V97. Oh, I don't remember the name, but I might have the wrapper actually. I wonder if they still sell them. They have like new ones every year. They'll have the year of harvest listed on the website as well, which is nice. Did the whoopee cushion thing do its job already? It's gonna have another job. I have already put the, I've already created the dough and had it chilling in my fridge, but I'm going to need to roll it out into the round for the sake of the pan, and then into like a sort of a square so that I can cut strips from it. So I'm just cleaning the thing now because I did kind of get it dirty. I probably could have just used it again, but why not clean it? Oh, it's gonna be hard to dry. Oh well. Yeah, I'm gonna roll it. I'm still gonna use the whoopee cushion. One more important job for this thing. I have the same tiny egg pan. I missed the tiny fry pan. I can show you. I'm not in a hurry. So I don't have a lid that fits it, and I do fry my egg with a lid on top so that the top cooks and I don't have to flip it. But there it is. It's just like a little thing. I just bought it online. It was very cheap. It was less than $10. But it's just a little non-stick pan. I'm amazed that it's still like the same as when I bought it. Considering I use it every day, it was very cheap. I guess if you're just cooking egg, that's a fairly friendly thing to do to a pan. All right, I shall drink some tea and then fetch a large bowl and start assembling my filling ingredients that are not apples. We'll do the apples after. While cooking, they have to clean themselves after there is a staff. It's apparently too noisy to have helpers, so there's one staff that goes around and collects dirty dishes. Interesting. We British have people who do that for us. It's pie day. Kira not helping with baking. Sometimes she'll wander through. Joker, get off the couch. Go lay down, bud. I can see you. Go lay down. Yes, you. Lay down. He's looking at me like, who are you talking to? I don't know. Not me. Sometimes the cat will wander through, but I think she's asleep in my office right now. Considered buying the single leg pan, then realized I generally eat 3 or more at a time. Yeah, I do the one. I used to eat 2 eggs at a time. My grandmother would make me eggs and dippers. Also, I think known as soldiers and something, depending on who's talking to you. But basically, like toast cut into strips with a soft-boiled egg, where you top off the top of the soft-boiled egg, and then dip your toast into the yolk of the egg. It's delightful, but it's like way too much work. So I used to do 2 when I would do it that way. What am I doing? I am fetching a large bowl. That's right. I keep it right here. And I'm going to get my stuff. So we got sugar right here, flour right here. I'm going to need cinnamon, nutmeg. I also just YOLO'd some cloves into the recipe because I just like cloves and I feel like they're a warming spice. They'll go with it. It'll be fine. 1/4 teaspoon of nobody knows. What on earth was that? Why did I do that? It's got it's there's just nothing there. Hazel, please. I think the lemon juice is just to, like, I'll still use it, but I think that's just to toss the apples in to stop them from browning. Alright, well, I guess this is fine. As long as it's basically apple, sugar, and spices, and then, like, either cornstarch or flour to bind it together, I think that's the important thing. It was only going to be a 1/4 teaspoon. Are you going to pre-bake and set the crust before adding the apples? I haven't decided yet. I could. This bakes for a long time. This bakes for 20 minutes at 420 and then another 40 minutes at 350. So I don't think I'm going to pre-bake. Last time I did it, my bottom was not too soggy. I think last time I had a reasonable bottom crust. And also, I'm not submitting this to a competition, so I won't be too upset if it's. I don't think it really needs it. The filling's not super wet, I find. I say that as somebody who made it once before with a different recipe. Okay. Let's start with the sugar. 3/4 of a cup. I had my 1/4 cup scoop. Oh yeah, it's holding. That won't do. It's holding extra flour. Well, you can just go back then, and then just dust this off. I didn't realize how dusty some of the stuff in my kitchen was. Oh dear. I mean, it's nice that it's just a good opportunity to go through it all, I suppose. Last night, I was preparing dinner, and I had something cooking in the Instant Pot. And as I gazed upon my Instant Pot, I beheld a tiny spider crawling across the surface, across the front, like where the controls are. I said to it, I don't know why the story's sounding like this, stop! And it didn't, because it's a spider. And I was like, that's it. You don't want it in there, trust me. And also, you are a spider in my kitchen, so you must go. So I got a little piece of paper towel, and I was going to squish him and throw him away. And I tried. And then as I pulled back my murderous towel hand, I discovered that there was no spider there, and I didn't know where it had gone. So that's really on me. And I am now cursed to be, like, perpetually twitchy and wondering if it is on me. There is a hummingbird, like, meeting happening outside. Don't fight. I'm going to be forever concerned that it is on me for, like, the rest of my life. Okay, and then for flour, we're going to use 2 tablespoons of it to help bind it together. I think the original recipe used cornstarch. But I'm kind of combining one filling recipe with another crust recipe just based on what worked for me before, and I used flour and it was fine. So that will come together with the juices and help thicken everything. And then I'm also going to need some cinnamon. The spices, my spoons don't fit into my spice jars, so I just kind of YOLO things over top, and sometimes it goes a little heavy, and that's fine. I like it spicy. Who wants a bland apple pie? Not me. Oh no. I was supposed to use a teaspoon of cinnamon, and that is confirmed a tablespoon. Okay, well, I'm sticking to my guns. Let's switch to the teaspoon. Okay, 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon cloves. I mean, they need to balance out the rest of it. They need to balance out the cinnamon, right? So, like... Oh no, I added a tablespoon of nutmeg. That's a fairly large adjustment over the 1/4 teaspoon. Okay. Let's put that over there. It's the same color as cinnamon, so, like, an understandable mistake. Yes, they're labeled. Yes, I printed the labels myself. It's fine. You know what? There we go. Cloves. I feel like measuring is just silly at this point. Sure, a little bit of that. And then you know what else I've decided? You know what's good with apples? Ginger. Plah, just a little bit. There you go. Sure. If this turns out badly and tastes weird, we'll know why. We'll all know why. Smells good. This is quickly gone from the British baking show to nailed it. It'll be fine. Also, how you guys doing? I've started indexing my footage from BlizzCon to try to assemble it into something related to a video. And all of my photos were live photos, which means there's like 3 seconds of motion and sound attached to them. And I really enjoy the voiceover of the photographer guy trying his best, or the security guy at Disneyland trying his very best to figure out my phone. He was like talking about it. It's very funny. The missing ingredient could be ginger. Cinnamon, natural balancer for nutmeg. All right, this is okay. You know what? You're right. A little more cinnamon. Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm going to stop now. I'm going to put all of the spices back on the rack where they belong. And we're just going to leave that alone. So that is spices and sugar and flour. It does need a little bit of salt. And you're basically just going to add apples and then lemon juice to it. And that's going to be our filling, which can sit while we roll out our pastry. And then if we decide to pre-bake, it can sit for that too. I want to say that if you sit apples in like a sugar thing, it's called macerating, and it causes the apples to soften in contact with the sugar. I don't really know anything about how that works. This is going to be a nutmeggy pie. I don't really know anything about how that works, but it means that I'm not too upset if I end up leaving my apples for a moment. Beck7, thank you very much for the sub. Welcome to the Squirrel Squad. I love this chaotic energy. Improv baking is dangerous. I feel like when you're messing with like this is for filling. These are spices for filling. So I'm not really messing with my pastry. I'm not messing with like a cake sponge or a cookie dough. So I feel like the worst thing that's going to happen here is it's going to taste weird. I don't think it's going to really mess with the thing. A little extra cinnamon. You are on Twitch? I am on Twitch. Nutmeg Phantom. Yeah, it's just because it's nutty. Just because it's nutty. Okay. We're nutty. We're nutty people. All right, apple time. So I have a bunch of apples. They're on the tail end of their life, but that's fine because we're making them into a pie. Last time, I think I just used like whatever apples. I think I need like 6. So this is 5. And then I have another 1 or 2 that are a different kind. I could go to 7, but my pie plate's fairly small, so I'm just going to do 6. Some recipes I find use only like tart baking apples. Some recipes kind of mix and match. I feel like experimenting with your apple would be a fun way to maintain the other variables of your pie and to see the effects of different apples because they'll bake differently. They'll end up with different consistencies and levels of softness. I'm going to wash these briefly even though we are going to peel them. I just want to get, I don't know, some of the ghosts off. Spooky. Hazel Mustard casts herself with an apple pie. There will be no combining of household cleaners in my pies. Is there any way to get BFA cheap? Poor, don't want to have to spend that much, especially this late into the expansion. Honestly, if it depends on whether or not you want to play for 8.3. If you're thinking of coming back for the sake of Shadowlands, then once Shadowlands comes out and you buy Shadowlands, that will include BFA. They're only going to make you buy the latest expansion, I'm fairly certain. Other than that, if it's not on sale, there's not much else to be really done about it. Hazel, do you have a KitchenAid mixer? I sure do. It is hidden. The bird thing, the bird covered thing that you can kind of see on the little camera, this bad boy over here, that is covering my KitchenAid mixer right now. I don't think I actually need it for today though. I don't think I need it for today. So I have underneath my kitchen sink this thing, which is a medieval apple torture device. We're going to spear some apples and peel them, and it also slices them, which is nice because I need them to be thinly sliced, and it's a real pain in the butt to have to manually thinly slice a bunch of apples. So, this will do it. So I'm going to actually give you guys a much better look at this. I'm going to do this camera larger and see if I can show you in a way that will still work for me what's going on here. So, I haven't really decided what's going on here. I've never done it from this angle before. But essentially, and it might take me a second to remember what I'm doing here. I'm going to pull back my torture device. I'm going to remove my sticker. I will... This is apparently Granny Smith. I have 5 Granny Smiths and then 1 mystery red apple. So I spear it right up the bottom as straight as I can. All the way in. Remember, you guys ever have one of those, like, apple slicer things that you would press down over an apple and it would slice it into wedges, but it took, like, the most force ever and it was not worth it and you just got a knife instead? Those were good. And we put it up. And then I basically can just start cranking. And it's going to spiralize. I want to say it's called a spiralizer. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to hold it down with one hand. So it takes off the peel first, and then the bit at the end has actually cored it. So now, when I remove the apple from this side, you can see that I've actually got, like, a slinky. I have an apple slinky. So I can just, like, I just slice that in half, or slice each slinky, you know, however we decide to, and pull off the cord. And then we're basically good to go. So this makes it way faster. I never would have bought this myself, but my husband already had one so that he could slice apples to more easily just eat. And it turns out to be super handy for apple pie. So I will prep these. I take it back, no one would throw that out. I have the press apple slicer, use mine all the time because we don't give LaFera a knife. This is one of those things that I never would have bought for myself or, like, even kept if it was given to me as a gift. But because it wasn't mine, I couldn't just get rid of it. And he showed me how to use it before, while we were deciding whether or not to keep it. And then once I saw the potential, it's like, oh yeah, no, we have to keep that. So. And then we reset. See if we can rock it through the rest of these. Last time I just sliced them into halves so that there were little, like, half CDs. I kind of want to have whole CDs. I kind of want to have, like, keep them in round shapes. And I'm not really sure how to cut them to make that happen. But I'm sure we can think about it and figure it out. Get rid of all of this. I'm sure there's something delicious you could do with the spiral thing. I think people will, like, take that ribbon, especially if they've done it with, like, a potato or something, and then fry it. I don't know. Possibilities really boggle. So this is a Honey Crisp. I have 5 Granny Smiths and 1 Honey Crisp. Where's my tea gone? I require it. The lever on the bottom makes it suction to a surface. Oh, good call. I didn't even think of that. You're right. That's much better. I've been watching tutorials today and yesterday, trying to figure out how to do a thing I want to do. Animating. And I don't know what my luck is, but every tutorial that I pull up... Oh no, that didn't really suction on well. I wonder if I need to do it onto, like, the counter. No, I'm doing something wrong. What if I do it like this and then I do it the other way around? No, that's wrong. There we go. Yeah, I don't know what my luck is, but I keep finding tutorials from people that are teaching how to do it, but they're also clearly beginners, like they're making a lot of mistakes in the software as they go along. And that's both really good and really bad. It's bad because, like, you kind of want to learn from somebody more experienced, and they, like, demonstrate a thing and they go, oh, well, that didn't work. We're just going to use this other thing instead. So it's a little bit meandering, but it's nice because they know which things to emphasize that you actually need to know as a beginner. Sometimes experts kind of lose sight of what the most important concepts are to get first because they just forgot that they even knew them. Oh, man. But I have not been making much progress yet. So 2, 4, 5, and a 6, 1 just for luck. And also because we may need it to fill out all of that nutmeg. Which is the bottom of this one? This one's the bottom. so let's see if I can make these kind of cute little spirals. Still have skin on the top of them, but I don't really care. I could discard that bit, but I don't really care. Paul Hollywood will never see my pie, so it's fine. I could watch the Apple Machine all day. I'm enthralled by the spinner cutter. Flash animation? Kind of, yeah. I'm experimenting with all of the different animating software available to me to kind of learn how they all work and what they do similarly and differently from each other. Because I want to give myself a basic and better understanding of the principles before I get too far ahead of myself like I did with drawing. So I did a frame-by-frame hand-drawn animation in Procreate. I did a different one in Rough Animate both on iPad, and then I'm trying to really get my hands around Adobe Animate CC, which formerly known as Flash. What do I want to do here? What's the best way to make these? So if I cut through one side, what have I done? Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed to do. I didn't know that, but that is exactly what I needed to do. So now I have a bunch of pieces that look like little CDs, let's be honest, but you know, it's fine. So we're just gonna toss those in here. Do the rest of them like that. I guess I don't have to keep that top piece with all the skin on it. It's not that important. It's also very small. So slide through just one side of all of these. And then take the little top discs off. They have the most skin left on them, and I'm lazy. And then take the rest of my CDs. We're going to splash some lemon juice on here. It asks for about a tablespoon of it. I just have the gross stuff that's like already bottled in like a lemon-shaped bottle, so this isn't going to be the best thing that's ever happened, but I think the lemon juice is just supposed to prevent the apples from oxidizing, and I'm sure the citrusiness will be good. I feel like a little bit of acidity in most dishes gives it kind of a boost, makes it taste not quite so boring. So let me grab my hopefully not expired lemon juice. December, November. Okay, well, not super expired lemon juice. It's lemon juice, you know. What's the worst thing? That's fine. But roughly a tablespoon, maybe a little less because this is pretty gross. And it's not gross, it's just, you know, I didn't squeeze a real lemon for it, which is actually kind of a mistake, because now that I think of it, I do have lemons. Oh well. And then I'm gonna grab like a spoon, and then another spoon. One of them is wooden, don't worry about it, and toss this all together. This seems like a lot of pie filling. When it comes to assembling my pie, I'm gonna do my best to stack these apples flat so that I can fit them all in, because if I just try and like jumble them in, they're not gonna fit. So we're gonna do some apple stacking. I'm breaking some of my CDs, but that's okay. Nobody has CD players anymore anyways. Ah, come back, come back. Okay, those are nicely coated with my overly nutmeggy filling mixture. As is tradition, that can just sort of hang out. We're gonna clean up again, and then I'm sure it's been close to half an hour, and we can start preheating the oven to 420. So one thing that I'm probably gonna do that I'm not looking forward to because I suck at it is partway through the baking process, I'm going to add a foil shield around the edges of the pie to prevent them from over browning because it has such a long bake time. And I don't know how people do that. Like, I take the foil and I put it into strips and I make a bunch of them because it's like a straight line trying to get around a circle. And I try and like crimp them over, but you're trying to do it over a thing that's already hot and then trying to get them to like perch and sit on it. I don't know if there's like a magical folding technique I don't understand, but I'm very bad at the whole thing. Oh man. Are you blind baking? I guess so. I feel like I wasn't gonna, but I've been peer pressured into it and it's probably a good idea. I won't blind bake very much. Don't traumatize your lemon sprout. It could probably see me from here if it wanted to. Apple pie, gone right, gone delicious, still almost died rated R. The Apple Machine, I don't know. If you look up like an Apple spiralizer or peeling machine, this is a Victorio branded one apparently, but you should be able to figure it out. Maybe somebody in chat knows what it's actually called. Oh, that needs sweetener. They make a thing for the edge of the pie crust. If I was gonna make pie often, I would probably get that. I guess I already have pie weights, and I already have, oh, it's because I didn't have any milk. I already have pie weights, and I already have a big silicone bag for rolling out my pastry in. So what's another thing to help me make pie? Like, what's another pie accessory? At least I'm specializing. I got rid of all my cake decorating stuff because I decided I hate decorating cakes. You can go back in there. I must have a tiny spoon. That's not a tiny spoon. I must have a tiny spoon. I have a tiny spoon. Haha, this came with a different tea set, but it is indeed a tiny spoon. Also, it's got a cute little purple handle, so it's gonna kind of match. We're gonna clean this up and then get to rolling out our pastry. Lattice top. We're going to try to lattice top things. Demon of 9, thanks for the 5 months. Use a square sheet, remove the middle circle. Oh. Cutting foil, though, stresses me out just because I know it dulls knives. And I don't like any of my knives, but I don't know if I hate any of them enough to try to cut with them, you know? Did add the apple thing to your Amazon links? We're all shopping for one now. Oh, I put a whole sweetener packet in this tiny cup. That's really sweet. I'm not mad. I'm just surprised. All right. Okay, clean up. Clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up. I may need more of this. I probably don't need any more sugar at this point in my life. I don't know. I don't think we're going to reach a point in this stream where I'm actually eating this pie, to be honest with you, because it's going to bake for like an hour, and then it needs to fully cool before I eat it. So this may be one of those things where we get in the oven, hang out for a bit, and then I post on social media later with what it actually turned out like, because it's just going to take a really long time. Let's see. I think I need a motorized apple spiralizer. You get one with like a gas pedal that you could just step on underneath. That would be good. Search red enameled cast iron apple peeler slicer core. World Market has them. Interesting. That would do it. Iron sharpens iron. Don't worry about it. Just sharpen the knives when they need it. So let me tell you about my knife sharpening life. I have 2 chef's knives. This one is an OXO brand one. Let's see. There's way too much glare. You're never gonna be able to read it. But it's basically an 8-inch OXO basic. You can get this at any, like, you know, Target, Amazon. It's a very common kitchen product. So it's a knife, and it's a fine one, but it's not gonna change your life. And it's not terribly expensive. So I don't mind sharpening that one poorly. But I do need to sharpen my knives occasionally because otherwise they drive me nuts. So I got ages ago. And anybody that has nice knives will really cringe very hard at this. But basically, this style of knife sharpener that has 2 different divots in it that you run your knife through in order to quickly sharpen it. So not a very great way to sharpen your knife, but it will do the job. It will take a lot more off your knife than sharpening it normally, and it won't give you the best edge. But if you have a cheap knife and you just want it to cut again, and you don't really care if you ruin it, or how quickly you get through your knife, it's fine. And the thing is, to do it properly, I think you need like a whetstone, and then you need to learn how to use it, and it's like a lot more, I don't know if it's more complicated, but it looked harder. I don't know how to dry this quickly. I guess I'm just gonna like put it, I don't know what I'm doing. Cutting anything dulls knives. I feel like cutting foil must dull them faster because my parents yelled at me for it when I was a kid. 6-hour baking stream, very important to let it fully cool. The King Arthur flower page was very specific about that. They had like a very admonishing note at the bottom being like, I know you made it, and I know it's yours, but trust me, don't cut into this thing just yet. I have a cheap IKEA knife sharpener. Put it on the stove to dry. The stove doesn't get warm though. This is like cold still. I had it hanging over the back of my stool. It's just not really warm enough in here to dry it super quickly. Air dry it by swinging it over my head. It's called, the pie crust protector thing called a pie shield. Lee Valley has one. Avoid silicone, get aluminum. Knives getting more dull by cutting foil is probably a myth. But it would get more dull depending on the hardness of what it is cutting, would it not? Like if you took a knife and you tried to cut a rock, and your rock is harder than your knife, of course, you're gonna ruin your knife. So would it not follow that any level of hardness in between those two things will dull it more or less? And aluminum, while not as hard as a rock, would theoretically be much harder than a tomato. I don't know if that logic is true, but that's where my line of thinking is. Use your blow dryer. For cheap chef knives, you just need to learn to use a honing rod to get the blade in line. Sharpening, normally not needed unless you are taking chunks out. A honing rod. What's a honing rod? Ever thought about getting a Japanese bonsai for your balcony? Before my pepper phase and before my succulent phase, I went through a bonsai phase that ended before I even got into bonsai, because I looked into what was required for bonsai and I did a lot of research and realized that I was not ready to take on that kind of a commitment. I could potentially do it if I did it on my balcony. If I was going to get into bonsai, I would want to try to create a beginner tree and not buy one that was already done, because if it died, as it very well may because I'm a beginner, I wouldn't want to have killed a really nice one that an expert had already worked on. So I would probably start with like a young boxwood that has a fairly good trunk structure already, and then try to work on shaping and pruning that. I could potentially do that on my balcony, but I've kind of given up on it for now. They need to be watered quite often, I think. That's why aluminum's harder than tomato. Let's see. Depends on how ripe the tomato is. I used to get yelled at as a kid, but I used the good scissors, right? That's a thing. Although, really, I don't really know what the point of having good scissors was. I suppose, like, when you're a kid and you're cutting, like, anything, they give you your, like, really garbage craft scissors that have the plastic handles, and you use those for fun stuff, and then they just don't want you ruining their kitchen scissors. If you need a new knife set but are in love with spacey things, search for the Cosmos kitchen knife set. I love it. I haven't bought a new knife in a long time. I feel like eventually, because the one that I just put away, or that I was about to put away, this is much narrower than it used to be because I have been sharpening it. But, you know, I probably took like a half an inch off it in 5 years, so I've got another 5 years to go before it's like weird and skinny. It'll be fine. I'm going to roll inside of this bag, which actually is quite dry. That's not too bad. So I don't need this cutting board anymore. I'm going to wash everything that was on it. Hi, Hazel. I just joined and smell food now. We are creating some pie. We're making some pie. So I'm going to roll out my pastry. I'm saying this for my own benefit, really. I'm trying to organize myself in my head. I'm going to roll out my pastry. Blind bake the bottom crust for just like 5 minutes, maybe 8. I don't want to overdo it because it's going to be in the oven for a long time. And I didn't blind bake it last time and it was fine. So I'm not going to push it. It's not a super wet filling, honestly. I might just skip that part. I'm trying to make a beginner pie. I'm trying to make a beginner pie that will produce an acceptable pie with very simple ingredients, to show myself in the world that while there's lots of things you can do to make a better pie, you can still make a good pie by making filling and crust and baking them. Like, I'm trying to not overcomplicate it. So maybe I just won't for the sake of it. It's not gonna ruin my life. Blind baking is when you put the crust in the oven without any fillings for a period of time to sort of let it start baking before you add the wet toppings onto it. If you have a very wet pie or sort of like a quiche or anything with a very liquidy filling, and you just bake it without pre-baking the crust, you can end up with a soggy bottom crust. However, I think I'm just going to kind of YOLO. In order to blind bake, you want to weigh down the bottom of your pie with a layer of weights. That can be rice, that can be dry beans, or I have little ceramic ball weights that I use on top of a layer of parchment to weigh down the bottom so that you don't end up with like big gas bubbles in the middle of the bottom of your crust. Okay. So we have filling, looks like this. I have a weird silicone bag. It's not that weird, it's just new to me. We're just starting our journey together. And then my dough, I'm just gonna do the bottom one, well, I'll do both of them. Oh, maybe I do need my cutting board because I'm gonna need to slice the lattice strips. That's right. Thought you decided last time blind baking was a bad idea with the lattice crust? Yeah, I think that was it, because then I was unable to re-merge my lattice strips with my bottom crust because it was already kind of baked. So yeah, we're not gonna blind bake. I'm making an executive decision and you can't talk me out of it. Okay, I guess I'm gonna roll out, I'm gonna flour the board a little bit because I'm gonna store and slice my lattice strips on here, so even if I'm not rolling out the dough on it, I still don't want it sticking. I'm gonna need my pie dish, which is like dashed. Don't mind the noise. So this is this 9 inches? It might not be. It says 12 inches, that's not right. Is this 12 inches? I don't know, it's not very deep. It'll do. I've made pies in this before, it's fine. It'll do. So I'll slap that down. I'm going to roll out let's start by putting you in the middle of your bag and then zipping you in the bag. I'm not going to zip it all the way because I don't want to trap the air in there and have it be like balloony, but most of the way. And I'm going to roll this out. I guess I can measure. Yeah, this is a 9-inch pie dish. This is not, I guess maybe 10 inches. It is definitely not 12. I guess maybe 12 because it needs to go up the side. So maybe I'll roll this out to like 12. I don't know. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, weird. I want this to stay put. I'm going to take a damp dishcloth. I know this works for cutting boards. I don't know if it'll work for this thing. We'll find out. Damp dishcloth. And then lay this out flat. And then lay this on top of it so hopefully it doesn't move as much. Aha! Aha! There we go. I can still see chunks of butter, which I think is a good thing. They're not huge, but you can see them. We're going to roll this out to like 12 inches, which is kind of another good reason to not blind bake, because it's not a super thick crust. Do I really need 12? Do I not have a different pie dish? No, that's my only pie dish. I made it in this one last time. It must be fine. How bad could it be? I want to hear pots and pans banging. My ears. Yeah, I have a bunch of metal funnels, like aluminum funnels, or maybe they're stainless steel, in that drawer or cupboard because there's no really a better place to put them. And the dish was underneath them, so I just kind of, in the interest of speed, just kind of yanked it. So I just want to roll it out. I think I'm taking too long. I don't want to compress it too much. But I do need it to be pretty flat. At least it's not sticking to my rolling pin this way. This is kind of nice. See what I've done. So I have roll around. It's probably about as thin as I would want it to be. It's not super circular, but it's probably okay. Yeah, we'll work with this. We'll work with this. So I'm gonna turn this out actually just like this. See if I can peel it slowly off the silicone. It is a little bit sticky. I wonder if I used too much water. And then I find that when I make, here, I'll give you the bigger camera. I find that when I make, oh, no, wrong one. Pie crust with shortening, it becomes like kind of stretchy. And maybe it's stretchy already, but this is nice because I can kind of piecemeal this together. It's not gonna be the prettiest thing you've ever seen in your life, but it'll be fine. And then just get it all the way up the sides. I probably could have rolled it out a little bit more, but this will do. Yeah, there. Sort of stretch up the sides a little bit. Make it somewhat even. And then I'm going to put that back in the fridge for a second, actually. Yeah, this is a little bit of a wet dough. I probably could have stood with not adding so much water now that it's come together. But that's okay. That's okay. It'll be fine. It smells good. I'm going to slap that back in the fridge for a second while I roll out my lattice rounds. I'm going to try and get 10 so we can have 5 in each direction. And I think I'm going to use a little bit more flour and just roll this out on the board normally and see how I like the difference. Should twice cut once. go. Let's see how this goes. I'd ideally like them to be roughly an inch wide, I guess I didn't really measure. If it's a 10-inch pan, maybe a little less than an inch wide if I'm going to do 5, or I can do 4 and 4. And even an odd number just sounds nicer though, doesn't it? So I'm kind of sort of trying to do a rectangular-ish shape. It's not going very well. And I believe enough in myself and my plan, so I'm just going to stick to it. They need to be roughly 10 inches. Do I have a tape measure in here? I no longer do. I had one last time. It did work good that one time. I do have the measurements here. So 10 inches is about here, so that is about 10 inches wide. And it's not quite a square. It's actually a rectangle. I'm tired. My brain's tired. Concept, not so hot today. You know that thing about measuring and chopping? I think it should be a square. Because the thing is a circle, so I need it to be, if it's 10 that way, I need it to also 10. It's actually not as rectangular as it looks. What did I do with my knife? I just had one. There it is. To trim just a little bit off the edges. They don't have to be perfect. Just largely strip like, you know. So just take a little bit off so that it's roughly a square. And then we're going to do 5. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe over a little bit. So like 1, 2, and then 3. 4, 5. That's not too bad. I can roll them out longer if they need to be longer. They're going to need to go across the pan, so I guess I'm just going to set this aside for now and start assembling. When I do put my pie in, I always, whenever I'm handling like a dish, I put it on top of a tray so I have something to hold, because I end up like putting my oven mitts in my pastry. So we're going to pull our bottom back out, and at this point in my life, I'm going to stack it with apples, just like this, and then we'll add the lattice on top. Stir a little bit of sugar on the top, call it a day. I'm not even going to bother with the egg wash. It didn't do anything last time. I don't need it to be gorgeous on top. I'm going to eat a tiny bit of this. Just a touch of seasoning. Oh, that's good. That's perfectly fine. That doesn't taste medicine-y at all. That's really good. I wonder what kind of apple that was. It was most likely a Granny Smith, but you know, there's some R&G in this pie. A little bit around this. This is going to stack quite tall. It's probably for the best that I didn't end up using another apple. And then there is some moisture in the bottom. The original pie recipe wanted me to dice up some butter and put some butter, like dot it around here before I add the top, and I may still do that. Or just like put little bits of it. Little bits of butter. But this means a lot of the moisture from the apples, if we were worried about it being too wet, a lot of the moisture is now in the bottom here. I think some people add this back in because it's kind of like a syrup. I've kind of got like a spicy apple syrup at the bottom of my bowl here. Just a little bit. I don't mind it being soggy, but I don't want it to be dry. I would not want a dry pie, you know? Do a little bit of that. I think with that, though, maybe I don't feel too strong about the butter. I didn't do butter last time. I don't think I need it this time. Where do you get this recipe? My heart. I've combined a few different recipes. So I'm using most of a King Arthur shortening plus butter crust. All right, so because it has to go over the top, these are going to need to be longer, so I'm going to roll them all out like another inch or so. Straighten up. because they're going to need to make it all the way over the edge of the pie. I guess 2 of them can be shorter, so the ones that have the least chance can be like of lengthening can be on the ends. And then these ones, these 3 in the middle, really need to... Wait, I only have 5 strips. I need 10. These are all going to have to get cut in half. Oh, I did not think this through. Okay, so that's fine. We can do that. They're going to be kind of narrow strips then, huh? I guess it's like a small pie. Where did all my dough go? All right, well, let's see. So, because it's going to be 5 by 5. We'll see how this looks. I'm very curious to find out because I haven't really mentally simulated this, I guess. But I think I can do a better latticing job than last time. All right, I'm going to take the saddest one. We're going to line up 5 of them, and then we're going to weave in the rest of them. So this one's pretty sad. Here, you can have some extra dough. And I'm going to lay you down like here, and I'm going to lift from this end. So we're going to do 5 across. So 2, and the top end will stay, the end closest to me will be lifted. And then we've got 3, 4, yeah, this is a little, 5. It's fine. And then going from this side, I suppose, let's go over. Hang on, stay. This is not as pretty a pie as I had envisioned. That's okay. Over and then under, and then over, and then under, and then over. Yeah, good job. And then scooch, because you're like way too far up. We're doing our best. And again. But this time we're going to go under first. So let's tuck this in the end. And stay. Under. It's so sad. Over, and then under. Over. Yeah, good. Pie weaving. It's starting to look like a pie. You know, something intentional happened here. And then we're gonna over again. At least the lattice makes more sense than that one time I tried to alternate the sides. That was a real mess. You know, this is covering more of the top than I thought it would. There will be some gaps, but that's fine. Okay, and then this side, start with under, over, under, and then one more. Doot, loop, doot, hey, eat, doot, eat, yeah, sorta, sure. I'm going to use my extra little dough bits as needed to like close the gap and make sure this goes all the way up the edge of the pan. I'm gonna eat this because it was escaping, and that means that it's just done and wants to be free. Oh, that was a Honey Crisp. Oh, that's really yummy. It might not be a perfect pie, but I'm still gonna want it later. You know? There we go. And you can just kind of, yes, indeed. And then, yes, quite. Sure. I'm not really gonna crimp much, but I'm just gonna kind of squish it and smidge it until it's like been uniformly smidged. And then I will show you what I've done. Haha, it's a pie. I guess I'm gonna just slap it out in the oven. The lattice is needed to help contain the nutmeg, which expands during baking. Tacos? Tacos? She eating while she preps? I mean, just that one bit. No one eating uncooked flour? Yeah, I feel like that is my supreme and prime right as both an adult that has the power to make my own mistakes and as the person that is cooking and or baking, that I get to eat bits of ingredients if I want. That's how you know that you're doing it right. Like that, like, if the apples tasted hideous when I tried one the first time, I probably would have baked it anyways, but then lied when you guys asked me if it was good. Okay, let's put this in. So we're gonna do 20 minutes at 420, and then add a foil shield, turn it down, and leave it for another 40 minutes. So we can stick around and hang out and chat until at least that part, so you guys can criticize me on my foil shielding technique. Oh man, Hazel just trying to eat the entire pie raw. That pie was bigger 10 minutes ago. Will you egg wash the lattice? No. I was gonna put sugar on top of it too, but it's too late. I just want it to be like a really simple thing. I feel like if this goes well, I can adjust that recipe document and make it make a little bit more sense and then slap it in the recipe part of the Discord, just because I want a really basic apple pie recipe so that I can, when I don't have the energy to do all the things, still make a pie, and then as I later want to improve it, I have, like, I know different places where I can try different things to make it better. But I just kind of want to prove to myself that you can make a perfectly good apple pie without doing all the crazy extra stuff. Hazel, I had that exact same baking sheet. They could be twins. When I was growing up as a kid, had that same awful looking, like, baking sheet. I feel like those are just universal. Like, everybody was gifted one as an adult. I have a baking sheet that looks exactly like that. Like, where did they come from? Like, at home when I was a kid, it was my parents. I don't know where they got it. And then it was just, like, in the house that we lived when I moved here. Did we work out what the unknown ingredient was? No. No, we didn't. We want a picture of the bottom. Of the bottom? I mean, I can give you a picture of a slice later. I'll post about it on Twitter. She turned the mystery ingredient into nutmeg. That's true. I did turn the mystery ingredient into like 5,000% too much nutmeg. Oh, man. Although, I'm telling you. So this is the bowl that had my apples in it. So it's got like some delightful juice mixed with sugar and spices, and then like a couple of apple bits. So this is basically just like a snack. You can tell that sitting in the sugar definitely softens the apples, but it's really good. Really good. Those of you that have that pan, does it do that? Like when the heat changes, it like pops in and out and makes a big sound? Okay, let's clean up. Put this one down here. I went on like a cleaning fit the other day and like mega cleaned my dresser and like got rid of some stuff at the top of it and like super dusted everything and then lined everything up so there was like 90-degree angles between the various components on top of it. And ever since then I've been sleeping better, so I kind of want to make everything really clean, and also I really want to find whatever happened to that spider. It's going to show up one day and I'm going to be surprised, but I will find him. This isn't over. That scared me. Mine does that too. Every single time I forget. It doesn't really get me anymore unless I'm like close to it like this. Typically, I will slap something in the oven and then just leave. Not the house, but I'll leave the immediate area. And it means that that I'm far enough away when that happens that I don't like spook too much. Throw the leftover apple stuff in yogurt or something. Oh, that would have been a good idea. I don't think I have any yogurt, though. If you want to cheat and have sugar on top that is fancy but simple, use Demerara or turbinado sugar. It looks fancy and has a mild molasses taste. The fancy part is remembering to buy Demerara or turbinado sugar when you're at such an establishment where you can do so. That's what makes you fancy, is the planning ahead to have that in your kitchen. I am not fancy enough to have that in my kitchen. Is the spider still around? So different spider. Yesterday or the day before, there was like a small spider, but definitely a spider. One of those ones that looks like tiny, but also like kind of jacked. You know, like he was a sort of strong spider, but like really little. Soap bubble. And he was on the surface of my Instant Pot while it was cooking. So I went to go kill him, but he like vanished. He did a vanishing trick. And I both didn't kill him and don't have any idea where he went to. So, one day he'll turn up. Or he'll be smart and just never turn up. He may just be hiding underneath the Instant Pot for the rest of his life. Silent Zephyr, thank you very much for the sub. Welcome to the Squirrel Squad. Not related to the ceiling spider, no. That one was much bigger. This one was really tiny. Which is like kind of what loot does the spider drop? Item level to kill the spider. Planning ahead, not how we do things as game players. We rush in and die until we get good. Indeed. I am trying to plan ahead better. in my life. Because whenever I do it, whenever I like actually think ahead a tiny little bit and plan, and everything goes so beautifully, and I'm like happy and stuff, and I go, why don't I live like this all the time? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. Things go so much better when I plan ahead. Like, this stream hasn't been perfect baking-wise, but it went much smoother at the beginning because I left myself enough time to set up my camera settings and set up my new dummy battery for the camera and print out a recipe and forget a thing off it, and like, I had already had like my kitchen cleaned, like I actually set the setup well ahead of time today, and it meant I wasn't running around at the last minute trying to find my microphone or be ready. Like, I actually got my intro plugged in. It was good. Leroy Jenkins of Pies. Do spiders make the rogue vanish sound? Turn up game sound IRL. Was the son of the spider hanging by the ceiling on a string? Unless it's a brown recluse. Don't get the spider, they're helpful. My policy with spiders is, as long as you are not on me and you don't let me see you during the daytime, we're fine. If it's moving around during the day, which usually they don't, they like to hunt at night, but if it's moving around during the day and I notice it and I have time, it's in trouble. But it doesn't, like, if I see one and it's the middle of the night, I just accept that I've stayed up too late and then I go to bed. That's their time. We have a timeshare agreement. Make your own carrot? Thank you for the bits. I appreciate it. That's a very cute corgi. I wish, I made a new, well, I wouldn't say I made a new, but I have a goal of making brand new, alert gifts for my stream alerts. So like the gift that plays when somebody subs or resubs or bits or hosts or all that stuff. I have some of them that are animations that I've drawn myself, and those are kind of cute, like the Squirrel Squad swinging sign. I made that one a few years ago, and I'm still happy with that. But I have a few others that are just like regular squirrels that I just found on the internet, and I want to replace those with something that I've animated just because it's kind of like a fun, like what else am I going to do with a hand-animated GIF? Nothing. But I still want an excuse to make them, so I'm going through and trying to learn enough to replace them with something I'm happy with. And my first experiment with hand animating in Procreate generated, if you're in the Discord, you may have seen it. It's like a weird plant man that's like wiggling his arms and looking very concerned. He used to have a mouth, but his mouth upset me, so I tried to erase it, but I had already merged enough layers that I couldn't really do it properly, so you can sort of see the ghost of where his mouth used to be, like he's trying to scream, but he can't. Anyways, I made that as a GIF, and I thought I had set it up as my bits alert, but clearly I didn't because I didn't see it happen. It's not a particularly good animation, but it's something, and by putting it up, I then motivate myself to make something better that I can replace it with. Also, animating is just really fun. It's just really, really fun to draw something and then make it move and make it change, because I can, like, keyframe stuff around in After Effects, and that's what I do whenever I'm doing boss guides, and that's easy and it's fine. But actually changing the properties of a thing and not just moving it around is like really fun. Spiders and I have an agreement. They can have the corners I can't reach. If they move out of the corner, I can't promise they survive. That's Sprout Pokemon. Yeah, it's a thing. I made another sort of different version of it that I'm trying to do something else with. I thought he was cute. I don't hate it. Oh. I think it'll make a good bits alert. Did you send out your background this month? I did. It's the butterfly one. It's in the Discord channel if you didn't catch it. His mouth upset me, so I erased it. This pie works out. We need to send her lots of nutmeg. I saw you in BlizzCon, wasn't able to say hello. You were in a hurry, passed by me. Are you going to the next BlizzCon? I think so. I plan to go to as many as I can until I can either no longer afford to or they stop doing them, I suppose. I don't really see a good reason why I would stop, just because it's like the shining moment of my year. It's something that I really need. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I tried my best to stop for as many people as I could. I didn't want to like start stopping for people that weren't asking for me, because I would think that I heard my name sometimes, but I couldn't tell if I'd heard my name, and I didn't want to just like wander around going like walking up to people being like, "Did you want me? Can I help you?" And they're like, "No." "What are you doing? Please leave." Oh man. I finished watching Dragon Ball Super, binge life. I thought he was laughing or screaming. Well, he originally had a little circle mouth, and then he kind of did a wow thing, and then like made his mouth bigger and then smaller. But because I'd already colored and shaded him by the time I decided to add his mouth, I could not see the progression of his mouth as I was onion skinning it, and it made the animation suck. So I changed my mind later. What do you drink, hazel coffee or tea? I have Earl Grey. This is an Earl Grey tea I've got. It's a little cold now, but it'll do. It'll do. Oh man. I'm having a time going through my BlizzCon footage because that's the next video I want to get done. I want to get it out before like next BlizzCon, and I need to really dig into it if I'm ever going to get it done. So I'm going through everything, and oh man, have you tried Lady Grey? I don't know if I have. This just got existential. So I have 10 more minutes until that needs a foil shield. I suppose I can start crafting one now. Should we try carving a circle from the middle of it? I would need it to be bigger than the pan so the edges can still fold over so it doesn't like float off the pie. And it's just trying to cover the edges. I don't know if it's wide enough this way. I know it's long enough the other way. I don't know if it's wide enough this way to make it fully across the pie. So I think I'm just going to do the strips. Folding a square thing to make a circle. Oh no, this is going to go very badly for me. I can't picture that. You want me to fold a square to make a circle? Dying for the BlizzCon vid, just don't want to rush you, so I haven't brought it up. I might have to add in some voiceover because I very quickly lost the thread of what I was trying to film and just started filming random bits of everything. I have an awful lot of 7-second long clips because that's apparently as long as I could film without getting embarrassed and putting my camera away. So I might try to, I might just try to like write out a couple of the key stories and then narrate them in voiceover after the fact and then see if I have enough footage to put underneath them to make it kind of work. We'll figure something out. Worst case scenario, I can always do what Hero ended up doing last year, which he just had like footage of him playing WoW that was unrelated, and he just talked over it and gave his stories, and that was really good. So, Jay Keller, 120.79 with the 2 months. Thanks for the resub. Kicks breakfast bottle under the table. What's a breakfast bottle? Does Joker get excited when you and husband are in the kitchen? My dog watches me intensely because they might get food. No, he will come through after I have left the kitchen because he knows he's not allowed to scrounge for scraps, but he needs me to be gone first. He's perfectly happy to commit a dog crime. He just needs to get away with it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm following my heart. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm folding in the sharp edges because you want to be careful with foil. I have made that mistake before. And then let's make this into a couple of pieces. So there's going to be a flat end and a curve end. The flat end will hook around the outside to grip the pie, and the curve end will sit on top. I'm gonna do, well, how many pieces do I really want to do? 6? 3 per side? Right now I'm on track to do 4. Because it's going to need to kind of curve. I hate this a lot. If I end up continuing to make pies, I may just, like, get the dumb thing. That's the worst. I hate it a lot. The foil thing, I'm going to put a shield on the pie in about 10 minutes so that the outer edge of the crust does not brown too much further during the rest of the baking. The You just don't want the edges to burn, but you want the middle to be flat. You must smell all the things. So, tear off a sheet of parchment. Tear off or cut a sheet of parchment just slightly bigger than the cake pan. So 2 or just 1? Fold it in half again, a triangle, and half again. Hold it against the pan, cut, and unfold. 2 pieces would do it. If it's not wide enough, just put them over the pie perpendicular to each other. Well, if you can do it with 2, I can probably do it with 4 then. We'll do our best. The WoW cookbook is from, you can get it on the gear store. I found it to be cheaper on Amazon, same as the Hearthstone cookbook and the Overwatch cookbook. This recipe is not from that cookbook. There is an apple pie recipe in the Overwatch cookbook, but I haven't tried that one just yet. I wanted to do something a little more basic. Morgana Freya with the gift sub, thank you very much. Should look it up after this, it's a handy trick. I think I would just need to watch a video. I think if I tried to do it just from text instructions, I'm going to, like, break my brain. I'm trying to figure out how to farm hazel cloth. How do you feel about cookies? Cookies are good. My favorite types of cookies are Christmas cookies, so I'm all about the gingerbread, I'm all about the shortbread. When you get into more everyday cookies like your oatmeal and your chocolate chip, those are also fine, but I don't get as excited about them, so I don't make them quite as often. Hazel, random question. Are you a hugger or a handshaker when you meet acquaintances? I find that most people I know are huggers. It depends. I don't really have... I feel like a handshake is somewhat professional. So I'll do a handshake if I'm meeting somebody for the first time. Or if it's like a business thing. Business. Everybody else will get hugs, or like the awkward hug where you just kind of lean in and you like slap their shoulder a little bit and they do the same to you, and then you lean out without having actually touched them. I feel like we get a lot of that. I don't really meet people very often. I don't really meet up with acquaintances. I don't have that many. Hazel has to be a waiver. Anything from a distance. I walk up to somebody and I'm like 6 feet away from them. I'm like, hello. Or you can do the queen wave. You can do the queen swivel. Pumpkin chocolate chip, that sounds good. My mom used to make these sesame seed cookies that were like cylinder. She would basically make like a big cylinder and then slice it. So you had these little sliced round thick cookie things that had sesame seeds on the outside, and they were so good. Do you do fun things like date and nut pinwheels? No. Snowballs? Never seen those. Tea tassies? I've never even heard of that. What is a tea tassie from? It sounds British. Finger guns all the way. How many baking streams until you're max level cooking? I think I would need school for that. And baking and cooking is the one place that I don't really want too much professional instruction, because I don't really want to know that I'm doing it wrong. I don't have enough of an interest in doing it better. There's a certain point, I think, when you're cooking that learning more is only going to give you more work. You know how to do it better, but it takes more work. And I want the easiest way to make the lowest common denominator but still decent food. Right? Like, I want to do the thing that's not crazy fancy, but is still going to be good because it was homemade, you know? Do Canadians say biscuit like the British as well as cookie? We know what a biscuit is. Like, if you ask a Canadian for a biscuit, they're probably not going to give you a scone. But cookie is the more widely used word where I'm from, anyways, in Western Canada. How long do you have to know someone before they get the full body contact hug? Depends on how much we like each other. I'm not hug averse though. I'll hug somebody that I'm meeting for the first time if I feel like either of us need a hug, or if it just seems like a good idea. I'm not going to freak out if somebody hugs me, or if I hug somebody. I just have to see them coming. If somebody you've never met hugs you and you're not aware of them before they hug you, that's a lot, but hasn't happened too much. Hugging is overstepping my personal space. Everybody has different levels of comfort. Like, a lot of countries will do the cheek kissing thing, where you'll kiss somebody on both cheeks, or you'll go back and forth, or you'll do it in thirds. I don't know, there's rules. But that's not really something from where I'm from. You might do that with like your parents or your grandparents, but not with like friends or acquaintances. So I would be uncomfortable doing that with somebody that I just met. All right, it's foil shield time. Alright. So I'm gonna take this out, and I'm reducing my heat at this point, so it's actually not a big deal if we're out of the oven for a little bit of time, because the oven's gonna cool down to like 350-ish over time at some point. And we're gonna do it for an extra 40 minutes at that point. So I'm not really gonna move this. I'm just gonna try and hook this on as best as I can without burning myself. The shapes are really just ruining me. I watched too many tutorials today. I've already like capped out my thinking muscles, and I have no thoughts left. Oh boy. I was really struggling with some shading on a thing I'm trying to finish for next month's wallpaper. I'm still working on that. I'm like really behind. And I decided, you know what might help me if I look up some beginner shading tutorials to get a refresh of the basics and figure out where to start. And then I watched some beginner shading tutorials, and then I tried to shade like an egg, and then I failed miserably at shading the poor egg, and then I was just mad. I just had a bad egg and I was mad. This is going okay, actually. This is not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Sometimes I find I knock them off when I add them onto each other, but we're just trying to cover the edges. And yeah, so it doesn't like float off into the either. But not touch too much because it is hot. All right, close enough. I'm gonna just move it very slowly and hope it stays put. It's not clamped on very well, but what do you do? Okay. There you go. That'll do. Okay. 40 minutes. Actually, you know what? Set a timer for 40 minutes. That is long enough that I could potentially leave the room and forget that I have an oven timer on, so it's probably safest to just have it on my watch. Tea Tassie is the name my mom gives to a tiny, cookie-sized nut pie. Like a little tart. That sounds really good. I love gingerbread. My mom and I always do a gingerbread house every Christmas. That sounds like so much fun. We did a gingerbread house baking stream. Which Christmas was it? Was it last year or was it the year before? It might have been last year. I remember putting a clip into the vlog that week of us using a baseball bat to demolish the gingerbread house. And that was fun. You guys can hug me. I want the Hazel Apron transmog. I bought this off of Etsy, and the seller no longer sells things on Etsy, so somebody may be able to print one for you, but I don't know where you would go at this point. I would feel comfortable smelting iron with those mitts. They're not very nimble, but oven mitts tend to not be terribly dexterous creations, so it's all right. 1 a.m. here, do I go to McDonald's? Is there anything you can make at home? I'm pretty sure it was last year. I think so, but the years are all kind of blending together for me. I'm trying to remember what color my hair was. Last year. How to make a parchment paper round, Martha Stewart 40-second explanation vid. A gingerbread house tip, you can add a plastic T-Rex to the plate. If the house collapses, no one will question the crumple. I remember I made like a little bird or something. There's like a little owl cookie that was gonna be like his house. Oh, because it was a bird house. That's right. I was making a bird house, a gingerbread bird house. And then I made a little bird. And then I iced on his eyes, but the icing hadn't set when I tried to put the candy on and stand him up. So his eye just like oozed down his face in slow motion. It was a real travesty. I think that I am about finished, because even when it comes out of the oven, I'm not going to be able to cut it yet. So I think I'm going to wrap up here, and then later this evening, I will certainly post at least on my Instagram story. I'll try and muster the nerve to put a picture of some pie or a video on my Twitter. I don't see why I wouldn't. I'm sure it'll be fine. Thank you guys so much for joining me today in my kitchen. Patrons, keep an eye out. We're like, in another 4 days or so, there will be a poll to choose what we're making next month. So keep an eye out for that. Tomorrow, back same time, different place. We'll be back with the game streams. I'm going to see if I can get might do some Dune Scavenger farming again. Thank you all so much, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.